Well, hello guys, welcome back. I'm gonna do God of the Day, even though I don't think it's the best idea in the world. Today's God is going to be Poseidon. What I'm gonna do is try to go into VR, but the resident gods are not happy because the kids don't want Poseidon getting attention. So I will see you guys right after this. Well, hello guys, welcome back. So I brought you underwater because fear is fear. If Njord got above the sea, then the king of the sea, Lord Poseidon, gets to be below the sea. We are at a sea wreck, actually, which, if you follow the lore, could actually be Poseidon. He's a god known for having kind of a dual nature. If he's loving and beneficent, you can do no wrong, but if he's angry, he will send storms, earthquakes, droughts, anything to do with the coast, bad seas, stormy weather, and he will destroy everything you own. He was a god that was both very much feared and very much loved in ancient times. Some people say that his worshippers were mainly female. I don't know how historically accurate that is, but I do know a lot of women are attracted to him. I have seen the name Seducer given to Poseidon, and it was usually Poseidon of rivers and lakes and streams. So not just the salt water like these lovely babies live in, but also fresh water as well. I hope we're in salt water. Anyhow, he is a god of, obviously marine animals. So if you want to have him love you and look kindly upon you, treating marine animals, treating the oceans and waterways would do you well. That said, he is infamous for being a god of he doesn't care how many offerings you gave him, he doesn't care how expensive they were. If he is in a bad mood, he is in a bad mood. This would be the god that you could take literally all the money in the world and dump it in the ocean. If he's mad, that is not going to help you with Poseidon. I can't stress that enough. I learned the hard way. Please don't learn the hard way. You cannot buy his favor when he's in a bad mood. You just simply can't. And the main problem and challenge I've had of working with Poseidon is he can ask you for something when he's in a fantastic mood, and by the time you get to him, he has changed like the sea, and he is very mad, and he does not want this. I actually had the experience of Poseidon rejecting an altar, and of course I was absolutely in tears, and Loki and Segan jumped in and took the altar. Later on, when he collected himself and he was no longer in a bad mood, because he always does get over his bad moods, Poseidon wanted to know where his altar was, and I said, "Don't you remember?" And he does seem, to his credit, if he can actually upset you and make you cry, he actually does seem to feel a little bad afterwards. But do keep in mind, he does have that flashpoint, that very hot temper, and he does have a habit sometimes, at least in my personal experience, of demanding things. And it's not Poseidon will demand things and, oh, don't worry, you will get something fantastic in return. It's not always the case. Then he can show up out of the blue and he can give you a magnificent gift, like we're suddenly being besieged by sea animals. And, be very generous out of the blue when you haven't talked to him for months. I do have the experience that it's usually this time of year, November, December, that he comes around, and I have seen him connected to Yule. He's famous for having the hippocampus, the half horse, half fish, and the horse, and he would often change into a bull. He was known as Earth Shaker. Some say that is when he was in bull form, and some say that is when he was in his palace spending time with his beautiful wife. Has a vast family, has, I believe, many daughters, and he's had many other children as well. He does have one of the rare wives in the Greek pantheon other than Dionysus that does not mind if he collects other wives, husbands, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever. It's all good. She's not jealous because she knows she is the best loved. It's kind of that Loki Segan thing. Poseidon may love and adore a human being, but it's never going to be to the point where it is the same for his lady love. And I try not to pronounce all the Greek names. It's not that I don't know them, it's that my Greek is terrible. Anyhow, He has his palace under the sea, and he's connected with the sea, and as we said, if you want to get on Poseidon's good side, or at least attempt to, you do not do anything wrong to the sea. People will have discussions back and forth about if you're starting to serve Poseidon since he was considered a god of the sea. Some will also say fisherman, therefore. Is it ethically right to eat fish at this time? Is it ethically wrong? I only know I asked him when he was in a bad mood, and I just got a glare. But recently, when he returned, the first thing he did was demand fish, and of course I had no fish on hand. So I would say it can change. The answer can change with Poseidon pretty quickly. But with people that he does get on with better than he does with me, they can usually do no wrong, and he's known to be a very kind, generous, and gentle god. He will provide well for his people. That's something you don't see every day. He will provide well for his people. He will, be pretty generous in his gifts. But he does want his recognition as Poseidon, and he wants his time as Poseidon. He is a god that if you have a lot of other gods, he's usually going to want to be right up there with the best of them. So if you have a lot of nice things for your patron deity and Poseidon comes in, don't be surprised if Poseidon is, kind of making noise and wanting to have the best like they have. He's kind of like Loki in that respect too, that they're kind of worried about what does that one have and where's my stuff and where's my affection and how come you're looking at that god and I don't like that god. In my personal experience, I cannot get him and Odin to get along. And I sometimes wonder if all the trouble I've had with Poseidon have been me actually having trouble with Poseidon, or it's been Odin coming over and helping, because Odin has already told me Odin is not above imitating Poseidon and making trouble for Poseidon. At least with me. And there goes my oxygen tank. We're just going to teleport back, unless I can find... Let me see if I can find it in time. Let me see if I can find a camera, guys. So Odin is not above, as I said, imitating Poseidon and causing some mischief, at least around here. Aha! Okay, that's gonna fill up our tanks. We don't have to do the mission. Okay, so in this household, it's hard to get them to get along because Poseidon and Odin are very much, I want to be top god, I want to be the most magnificent god you know, I want to be the perfect god at everything. So if you have him with two or more other very strong, very alpha dominant type gods, it might not work very well. Though like all other gods, he has a lot of aspects, and you might work with an aspect of Poseidon that's gentle and kind and meek and mild, and you wonder where I'm getting all this from. There's so much we've lost about the gods, so he might have a very tender, kind, and gentle, aspect. He is, like I said, god of the sea. Obviously, we're going to keep going back to that because even though some say he started off as an underworld deity in earlier culture, we're going from Greek culture because that seems to be what he responds to. He does get along well, I think, with his brothers. At least, my personal experience, Hades is fine with him and Zeus is fine with him, but it's also a thing of you have to respect the sea, you have to respect Poseidon, and sometimes whether he feels respected or not changes on a day-to-day basis. So he's a very complicated but rewarding deity to work with, and not so much in the idea of if you work with Poseidon, all of a sudden, you're going to be showered with pearls in a house by the beach, or for the love of the gods, please don't look at Percy Jackson and think you're going to become the literal, magical child of Poseidon that can breathe underwater. You will drown. And don't think he's going to become, so enamored that he will place you beneath the ocean. He might if you make him mad enough. But, it's a thing of if he does work with you and does work well, he does bless his people, and, they will ask him, they will say, can you help me with whatever it is that they want. Some people have said he's help them with jobs, anything to do with fortune, anything to do with some people. I think he's even done health, though please don't, quote me on that. And it's just a thing of, if he loves you, he's a very good provider, and he seems to be more calm and constant with the people he loves. So you will know pretty fast, in my experience, if he loves you. I wouldn't say that we can't stand each other, but I would say it does not help to have a god as temperamental as Poseidon in a house with a god as temperamental as Loki and as temperamental as Odin. And all three are very big power deities who want to know why this other god is in their territory. Quite often, that just seems to be the case. You'll get a lot of powerful deities and none of them want to get along. He does have some good stories, though. He has stories like, there was a young lady that I can't remember the name of, I'm sorry, that she was being attacked by Satyr. And Poseidon actually came to the rescue and repelled her attacker. And of course he did later, fall in love and convince her that, Poseidon, best god ever. But, at the very least, he does have that one good story. And we have stories of him creating horses and I think several other animals to impress a goddess. Now, there are, of course, adults know, less savory stories of Poseidon, but we have to consider the time and we have to consider what was acceptable in that culture and not. I do know that if you're going to work with Poseidon, you are going to be totally safe with him. As many times as he's gotten angry, as many times as he's rejected offerings with me, I've never felt like I was in any danger. I've never felt like, okay, Poseidon was going to get me because I gave him this offering too late or something. But he definitely seems to be, in my experience, that god that he's either all in with you and he loves you and he's going to work with you, or not. Everybody seems to have a very different experience with him. Some people, it seems he doesn't mind sharing with other gods, at least, I guess, if they're Greek, so maybe it's kind of like that Odin thing, where Odin doesn't mind sharing with the Nordic pantheon, but, others are a case-by-case basis. And with some people, he's completely different. So I think we're going to wrap it up around there, but, I actually had to have a titanic fight with Odin and Loki to even try to record this video. I don't know why. I guess because, he will come right up and demand the same as they have, and, according to Odin and Loki, they're my only deities. Full stop. And Poseidon's like, no, I'm coming over here and I'm being loved and worshipped too. And they're like, absolutely not. So it might be, we might have an actually way better relationship if those two weren't constantly snarling and nipping at him. That might be the case, but he is a bit of a proud god, and he's certainly not going to come to me and whine if they're not treating him fairly. He's just going to grin and bear it. So I will give him credit that, he's not going to be the god to come to you and cry if the other gods aren't treating him fairly. He's just going to take it, but then, he's going to be a bit more moody than he would normally be. And I think about 90% of my problems with him are Odin or Loki going over and starting trouble, because Odin always has to prove himself and prove he's the strongest god in the room, and Loki has to be the smartest god in the room. And I'm sure they just torment the living daylights out of him. And, poor Poseidon, he does keep coming around and he does keep trying. So I would say he's loyal. I can't say that as many problems as we have had. He is loyal. He does seem to drop by from time to time and check in on me. I think he's never really going to accept that Loki and Odin just don't want him on their patch. But, God's bless him, he does keep trying, so he's a very determined god. And, the rest, anything else you'd want to know, is, very easy to find on Wikipedia. He has the trident, and lives under the sea, and all the stuff we already discussed. If you care about Poseidon, you kind of want to be nice to sea life, all kind of water life, all waters everywhere, some people would say, though. If you're really into Greek history, they'll start breaking it down, going, oh, no, it has to be like this river god or this ocean god or something like that. But in general, I think all waterways, because when we have worked well, it seems like he cares about all animals. And whether you eat fish or not, or you offer stuff from the sea, I would just say, make sure it's sustainable. and make sure it's, something that you feel okay with offering. Obviously, if you're vegan, do not go out of your way to go get seashells or something, and if you're not comfortable with that. And if you're, say, a voracious meat eater, it might comfort you to know that he was offered bulls and horses. So, beef would just be just fine if you can't stand seafood, or you're, as we are now, we're worried about mercury levels, or we're worried about sustainability, or, the practices of the companies. That will actually go a longer way. I'm not going to say he's going to be super happy and always understanding. He is kind of moody. And if you're kind of moody too, it's not always the best match, so gods know. But, at his best, he can be very easy to please. He'll take coffee just 5 minutes of your day. You doing something like this, if he can't do VR, obviously, just, YouTube videos or whatever. He can be extremely easy to please at his best, and can be rewarding then to work with. And he does seem like, as long as you're pleased with the sea and you have awe and respect of his world, he's happy. But then, when he has decided that he is not happy with you, there is absolutely nothing you can do to make him not displeased. You just have to kind of wait for the storm to blow over, and then, the more gentle, easy to please part of Poseidon will be back. I think the boys are very miffed that I fought them to a standstill so that I could get this video done. But, that is what it is. You might have a totally different experience. You might work with all three and they might be best friends, and you might be ready to flame me in the comments, but with me, I cannot get them to get along. So, if you guys like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe. I really enjoy doing these, and I figured that if New York got above the sea, it wasn't very fair to poor Poseidon to not do below the sea. But again, he is that one god. I will tell you, he might like this and thank me for it, and he might be completely indifferent. It totally depends on his mood. I've had times where he's asked me, I think I told you guys, but he's asked me for, like, say, an altar setup. By the time I get the money and the stuff all together and I get it set up, it's too late. It's too late. The moment is gone. He's mad. He doesn't want it now. So, I don't know. With me, though, I think it was like 80% of Loki and Odin going in there and just annoying the living hell of Poseidon. He's not going to tolerate that kind of treatment. So, if you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.